Hey guys, welcome back to C's TV with your host, C's. I know I've been away for a bit, but now I'm back. So thank you guys for tuning into this video. And today we'll be doing a review on 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Hope you guys enjoy. So how did I get this book? First, I want to give a shout out to my brother. He's the one who got me this book for my birthday earlier this year, alongside the Elon Musk biography, which I have read. So once you finish this one, go to that video and check that one out if you'd like, or if you want, just go to that one, come back to this one. What is this book about? This book is about 7 habits, or rather I should say 7 laws, which the author has compiled into what he thinks makes a very effective person. And he does this through anecdotes and experiences of others, his experiences and diagrams, and it's pretty much what it is. It's broken down into 3 parts, I should say. So it takes you on what he likes to call maturity continuum. So you go from, before reading this book, a dependent person, assuming, then you go to a dependent person, then interdependent person, and then the last stage is kind of going over everything beforehand. Stephen Covey, Dr. Stephen Covey, he has an MBA at Harvard University. He's a family expert. He's a university professor. Most of his life is teaching large schools and organizations on how to implement the 7 habits of highly effective people, because this book has been a worldwide success. It was actually published in 1989 and it sold over 50 million copies. And some of the people that have actually read this book include Nelson Mandela, Oprah Winfrey, presidents like George Bush, both of the Bushes, and Bill Clinton. But Bill Clinton actually gave Stephen Covey a call, and he was like, bro, come tell me more about this book. I would love to implement this into my presidency, supposedly, which I thought was pretty dope. Alright, so I want to talk about, aspects of the book that stuck out to me. There's a lot I could have gone into, but that would just spoil the book for you guys. So paradigms. So before going onto the 7 habits, Stephen first explains what a paradigm is. And a paradigm essentially is someone's perspective or point of view. So the lens that you see the world through, that's your paradigm. Usually we have our own paradigms, and we put it onto reality. So we base this off our prior experiences, our prior values, and that's what he explains in this book. A great example of explaining a paradigm, which Stephen uses in this book, is using the picture of the old lady, young lady. I'm sure you guys have seen it. I'll put it up if you haven't. And he asks people, what do you see? And if I was to ask you, you'd probably see one or the other, maybe both. Different paradigms or different people's perspective would see one or the other and say, but I don't see the other one. And Stephen Covey in his book wants to explain, wants you to understand what a paradigm is, so then you understand what a paradigm shift is. And the paradigm shift is essentially that aha moment when you see the whole picture. Remember, both the old lady and the young lady are right. Understanding what a paradigm is important for you to experience a paradigm shift. Essentially, we usually see things in the world for what they are, but then we add our own experiences to it, our own values, our own prior understanding, which then makes it unbiased. So usually what Stephen likes to explain in this book is try seeing it from a different perspective, an unbiased perspective, someone else's perspective. So he makes you consciously think about, okay, what is my paradigm? What is my way of thinking? The maturity continuum. This book is mainly centered around 3 main levels, I'm gonna call them. A dependent person, which is all about the other. So a dependent person would be someone who relies on what other people say to form their own opinions. If that person's angry, I'm gonna be angry. It's all about you. It's external factors controlling you. You're dependent on that. So imagine a baby who's really dependent on their mothers, because obviously they're a baby. So that's the first level. And then there's an independent person. And the independent person is all about I, and that person can do everything himself. He doesn't really rely on external factors, doesn't really let people influence him too much. So he's quite mature, he's independent. but that's not the level that Stephen Covey wants people to get to by the end of reading this book. Sorry about that, my camera died and I went to get a jumper because it's quite cold. Alright, so we were talking about interdependence, which is the last stage of the maturity continuum that Stephen Covey talks about in this book. And that is no longer focusing on me, focusing on you. So no longer dependence or independence. It's all about the we, the unit. Interdependence is that in his eyes is the highest level of effectiveness. When he talks about interdependence, the first thought that came into my head was Michael Jordan and his Bulls.
Stop it. Get some help.
For those that haven't watched The Last Dance is about MJ and the Bulls, the 96-97 season, I believe, which is the final season with MJ, Phil Knight, and where they win their second three-peat. The MJ talks about how he could do so much by himself, but that combining his efforts with Scottie Pippen, with Dennis Rodman, and the rest of the core, he was able to win his 6th chip. And that is true interdependence. I mean, MJ's the GOAT. Now I want to talk about the framework. I like the way in which Stephen Covey has set out the book and the habits. So the habits all fall into 3 categories. The first 3 falling into the private victory. The next 3 fall into what is called public victory. And then the last habit, the 7th, is called renewal. Stephen has also made it so that each habit kind of goes hand in hand. And the more, I guess you can go into any habit with this book. You can just jump right in. But knowing that first habit gives you the knowledge you need to go into the second habit, and it all links quite well. And it's like you're slowly growing, almost like a staircase, if you will. And then by the end of the book, when you reach the 7th habit, which is renewal, it's like you reach the top of the mountain. So I quite like that. I was going like on a journey of growth when I was reading it. I know it sounds cliche, but and now I want to talk about the applications of the book. And Stephen Covey actually goes in detail of various different applications in a work setting, in a public setting, in a relationship setting, of how you can put all these habits into play. But I want to talk about how I've put it into practice in my life. And bear in mind, this book was first published in 1989, so quite a while back. But I feel like it's gone against the test of time. For example, in habit 3, which is the last one of the private victories, Stephen Covey talks about putting first things first, prioritizing the most important things to you, and he even uses this table to help you out. Like I said before, he uses diagrams, which are so helpful in understanding his theories. And in the quadrant, there's quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. You would put what's most important to you, and he said you should always put first things first, and he recommends planning ahead. Not planning 1, 2, 3 days ahead. He recommends a week in advance. And if you could plan a week in advance, then he says you're pretty much set up for success. Stephen Covey has passed away. His son has now added his own insights into the updated version of the novel. And he says, yeah, my dad would plan a month, even a year in advance for certain events. So if you can plan ahead, like way into the future, then you're highly successful. You're an effective person in Stephen Covey's eyes. One way I did it was using Google Calendars, and I might make a video on how I plan out my week, plan out my days using Google Calendar, or just a to-do list app or to-do list like journal, I guess. But I've done it in Google Calendar. I've planned a week ahead, and the important thing is you get to prioritize what you want to do. Essentially, it's your week, it's your days. Live it how you want to, but make sure you're putting first things first. And that quadrant, and in his book he talks about how you would define what is important and what is not. Alright, so who would I recommend this book to? Everyone. Literally everyone. Even if you are an effective person, and if you're not, I feel like everyone needs to read this book. Everyone would get something from it. Reading this book, I already understood or started to implement some of these habits, but there's still little minute details, some nuances that I missed. By the end of this book, I did feel like I grew in a way. Yeah, I definitely had a cathartic feeling of, wow, I learned a lot. I grew. Some things I already knew, but it just added to that foundation of knowledge. I think everyone should really read it, because I feel like the important thing here that Stephen Covey does is he really goes into trying to make you reflect on yourself and your mind, and really looking deep for the answers I mean, he calls it looking from inside out, and that's how you essentially come to implementing these habits. You first look from the inside out, you really reflect. Sirens. Whoa. One quote from the book I would love to leave you with before I end this video is from the Greek philosopher Aristotle. He said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." Thank you guys for making it to the end of this video. Be sure to go look at my Elon Musk review. Go look at my Phil Knight shoe dog review. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.